Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about getting past adversity and problems. Adversity, problems, setbacks, and surprise events like the pandemic we just went through leave us feeling overwhelmed and out of control. And it's easy to get pulled into the fear and drama of these types of adversity events and begin to believe that your life is out of your control. Like something outside of you is the thing that will determine your happiness and your success and whether or not you are able to thrive. When we experience adversity, we start to believe that our external world out there and all that's going on in it is what will make or break us. And I'm here to tell you the reality is very different than what it seems. See, with every adversity comes equal or greater opportunity. Overcoming adversity is a critical skill to learn in this life because the nature of life itself is to test us, have us discover a better version of ourselves, and then to learn to rise above the adversity to something better than we ever imagined. If you want to become super adept at overcoming adversity, you have to understand that it's important not to see what's in front of you at the moment as evidence of your future. It's only the evidence of your past that you're seeing right now. And I know this firsthand through my own adversity experiences through the school of hard knocks, trust me, which is the education none of us can avoid in this life, right? I was one of those kids who found high school to be easy and kind of boring, so I decided to accelerate my curriculum and I graduated myself at age 16 and then married my boyfriend who was 5 years older than I. Not a great life plan as it turns out. 2.5 years later, I find myself divorced with a baby on my hip in a new city, no family, no friends, no job, and no clue what I was going to do to survive. How would I ever overcome the adversity that I was in? I was in deep. So I did the only thing I could think of, which was to apply for food stamps. And I'll never forget that day when I was standing there at the grocery counter ready to check out and turn my food stamps over for diapers and food. Standing there with several people lined up behind me, I suddenly had an epiphany. Suddenly for me, it was like time slowed down and I felt like I was sort of standing in a spotlight and a question dropped into my mind. First question was, how did you get here? Followed by a second question that was, are you doing everything you can to get out of this situation or are you taking the easy way out? Well, that second question came to my mind, I already knew the answer. It was literally my moment of truth. I knew I wasn't doing the best that I could in my heart. I knew that I wasn't tapping into my own best resources, even though I honestly had no idea what those might be. But that second, as I turned the food stamps over to the cashier, I was already saying to myself, this will not be my future. And suddenly I felt such intense conviction inside that thinking back, the look on my face was probably a little fierce to the cashier. So I went back to my little apartment where I was getting eviction notices every single month and I sat down with myself. And I knew I didn't have any answers, but I did have questions. So I just started asking, how can I make money tomorrow? Who would hire me? What skills do I have that are useful? And suddenly, as I was sitting there asking, I remembered hearing a radio ad about Kelly Services Temporary Service Agency. And I called them and asked, how do I join? The idea was you could get work the next day. They told me to fill out an application, list my qualifications, and that they would match them up to jobs that became available. Fortunately, I had worked at my dad's law offices in high school, and I had worked at a popular clothing store in my hometown, and I had started actually working at age 14 at Taco Time. I had to say I was 15 on the application to get that job. But anyway, the temp service agency started sending me jobs, and I started filling in at law offices and working sales at conventions and setting up booths at malls and all kinds of interesting things. And the assignments would last several weeks or several days. Sometimes I was lucky enough to work with the principals of the companies, trying to sort of understand what it was like to be them. And I started learning something about myself. I learned that I really like business and especially like sales. And I loved working with people. And at that point, I decided to put myself through real estate school and I became a licensed realtor. In the meantime, through all of this, someone had approached me and asked, why don't you do some modeling? So I thought, why not? I went to the biggest modeling agency in our city and asked them if they would sign me as a model. Fortunately, after stumbling through some reading lines and walking the runway for the director, they said yes, and I was thrilled. I ended up, luckily, getting some television commercials, and the commercials ended up going national. So literally, a little more than a year and a half later, after that moment where I'd been standing at the grocery counter ready to turn over my food stamps, I'm now working for the biggest real estate home builder in our valley. I'm a licensed realtor, and I became the #1 realtor in my company. And right about that time, my television commercials started bringing enough income in that I joined Screen Actors Guild, which gave me the best health insurance benefits you could get for my little son and me. I can't tell you how many times I've thought back on that epiphany moment at the grocery store. Just how easy it would have been for me to just keep slipping into my victimhood. I had every excuse. I was young. I had no help. But I'm just so thankful for that question that came to my mind and changed absolutely everything. Are you doing everything you can, or are you taking the easy way out? And even, probably more importantly, I'm so thankful that I had the courage to answer it honestly and not run away from the question. There was something so much better than this, and I kept asking the questions and following the answers until question by question, answer by answer, idea by idea, a better path kept unfolding for me. And I kept following it one step at a time, one commitment to myself at a time. So let's talk about Bethany Hamilton. Bethany had a love and passion for the ocean. She was an avid surfer, and then one day her arm was bitten off by a shark. So Bethany had started surfing when she was just a child. She was only about 13 years old when the almost deadly shark attack resulted in her losing her arm. So what did Bethany do with her adversity? Did she quit the thing she loved the most? Did she say, okay, I'm done. You beat me. It's over for me. I can't handle this. Nope. Instead, she said, I'll never quit. I'll just get better. So she was back on her surfboard 1 month later. And 2 years after that, just 2 years after that, she won first place in the Explorer Women's Division of the NSSA National Championships. Talk about determination, right? Talk about using adversity to make you stronger, better, and how maybe, just maybe, it can cause you to reach a new, more amazing level of achievement like Bethany did. So if you're sitting there right now, stuck, distraught, thrown off track by the events that have happened in your life, I promise you, you can use the adversity you're seeing now as your guide to a better future. A diamond has to go through tremendous heat and pressure to transform into the most beautiful and prized stone in the world. All adversity is loaded with tremendous lessons learned, wisdom, and opportunity. And if you look deeper and ask the right questions, a direction to a new and better way to live or to do things or to be starts to emerge. And it starts with sitting quietly with yourself in a quiet space and asking the right questions, going through questions and then believing and knowing you will get the answers and that you deserve the answers. That's the key. Make sure you write everything down when you spend this time with yourself. First, the questions that begin to form in your mind, and then the answers that start to come to you. Now, a lot of you ask, what questions do I ask? How do I know if they're right or if they'll work? The question of how to formulate the right question in the right way at the right time is so important. You're right about that. And it's so important that my husband and I wrote an entire book on the subject, and it's called Ask: The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. This is the book. And I promise you, if you get this book and start reading it, reading through all the questions, start reading the stories of other askers who were faced with unbelievable adversity, but found the answers through asking their way forward. you will feel yourself start to open up. You will see yourself in the stories of others, and you will find strength and direction and hope in those stories. The other day, a really awesome, cool podcaster with a huge audience had us on to interview us about the book. And he just read the book, and he said he had never in his life read a book that made him cry. I was so touched by that. He said he started reading our book and got to a certain place in it and started seeing himself and started seeing things he hadn't seen before. He said for the first time ever reading a book, he cried because it opened him up to a part of himself that he had needed to look at and to release so that he could take his life to the next level. Life's adversity is going to keep happening. It's part of the University of Life that we all signed up for when we came to this beautiful planet. But the other side of the coin to overcoming adversity, that other side is the new opportunity that exceeds the pain, suffering, and discomfort that was required to wake you up to the new version of you. To get there, you need to ask the right questions in the right way. Let this book be your guide. The link is below, and you can find it on Amazon. Take this asking journey with me, and when you do, I want to hear about your experience. I want to know your journey, and I want to learn from it. We're here to learn from each other, and so start asking yourself, start asking others, and asking God, and just watch where it takes you. I'm excited for you, so make sure you talk to me below, and don't forget to hit the like button to help YouTube reach other people who can be helped by this discussion. Also, please share this with a friend who's feeling low right now. You never know how much you can lift someone else up with just one message. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.